Welcome, my friends. You can't believe who I have today for my podcast. I have Grant Baldwin, who is my speaking mentor. Thanks to him, he actually taught me everything that I know in speaking business. And that's why I want to present to you Grant Baldwin, who is founder and CEO of the Speaker Lab. Speaker Lab is the training company for speakers. And he also wrote a book, The Successful Speaker. Actually, he published it a year ago, right, Grant? I
This is
think it was
true.
like February last year.
hmm
Yes, it's an incredible book. For sure, if you're even thinking about starting your own speaking business, so going and speaking for money and make profit on that, then definitely get that book for sure. All right. Thank you for being here. Welcome, Grant.
Thank you so much, Natasha. This will be fun.
Yes, for sure. Grant, so this is Speak with Power podcast. And we have a lot of people, entrepreneurs, executives, top managers, people who would love to be better at their presentation skills, to have more confidence in speaking. So
Yeah.
could you share, first of all, how do you understand what is speaking with power for you? What does it mean for you?
Yeah, I think what's important is that everyone recognizes everyone has a message, everyone has something that they can share. And so taking ownership of that, because I think sometimes whenever it comes to being a speaker, sometimes we feel like, well, I don't know that I should be a speaker. I don't know that I have anything to share. I don't have anything that would be impactful or powerful to anybody else. But just because something that may be insignificant to you may mean a ton to someone else. And so recognize that and understand that you do bring a lot of power and authority as a presenter and as a speaker. And so yeah, I'm a huge proponent of everyone should not necessarily everyone, but most people can be speakers and can certainly do that with power.
Definitely. I definitely believe that everyone has this message, has something to share. And I see so many people who have what to say, but they don't say it, or they don't
Sure.
know how.
Right.
So could you go back and remember when you just started? Because I know that you started about a decade ago, right? Maybe even
Sure.
more
Yep.
than
Yep.
10 years ago. I
Yep.
heard those stories so many times in your webinars. I love them. And I remember when you first went and spoke, and then they gave you your first check. You said
Yeah.
like $1,000. So could you go back to those times when you just started and share with us, did you always speak with confidence and with power, or were there moments when you were a little unsure and you had to work on that?
Yeah, so if we go all the way back when I was in college, I actually worked for a guy who was a full-time speaker, and so I kind of got to see a little bit of behind the scenes of what that was like. And it was one of those things that speaking for me personally just really resonated. I was intrigued by it. I felt like I was okay at it. I wanted to do more of it, though I just didn't know what I didn't know. And so I met a couple guys who are full-time speakers and just started like stalking them and picking their brains and saying, "Hey, how do I become a speaker? What does this look like?" And of course, not everybody watching or listening wants to be a full-time speaker, but obviously everyone here wants to speak in some way. And so that very first gig that you're referring to, I'd emailed a couple potential clients and ultimately booked a gig where that was a couple hours from where I lived at the time. I drove a few hours there. I spoke for about 30, 45 minutes or so to a group of about 300 people. And they gave me a check for $1,000, which was just an astronomical amount of money. And I remember just feeling like, okay, excuse me, like this is what I want to do. Like this is something that I felt alive. I felt just such that rush of adrenaline. I had people coming up afterwards and talking about how it had impacted them, how it made some type of difference in their life. And I was like, this is it. Like, this is what I want to do. And so to your question, like, as far as, did I feel like I spoke with power? Or do I feel like I, have nerves or the anxiety? I think, every speaker has times where you get into the environment and you feel alive. You feel like, okay, I'm gonna crush this. This is gonna be awesome. And then times where maybe you feel like you are you don't feel like the audience is with you as much, or you feel like maybe you're trying new content and you're not really sure if it's going to work or not, or if it's going to resonate or not, or maybe there's some type of technical issue, or the audience isn't totally engaged, or there's something happening in the environment, or any number of things. And so there's all these, like, I think for any speaker, it has to realize, like, we all have these doubts and insecurities and fears and worries. And, is this working? Is this resonating? Is the audience with me? Are they paying attention? Why is that guy yawning over there? Those type of things that we all wonder about, but at the same time recognize, like, part of the ownership, part of the responsibility of being a speaker is that we deliver a message with power, that we deliver, that we bring our absolute best. And that's part of being a professional as well. Because even on days where you don't feel like it, or you are tired, or you just flew in late the night before, or whatever it may be, that you still bring your absolute best to that audience, because the audience, the event planner, the person that brought you in, they deserve your absolute best. And so, yeah, it's there are certainly plenty of days where I felt where I really spoke with power, and other days where I felt like I didn't have much to bring to the table, but I brought what I had, and ultimately did my best.
Definitely. Oh, I love all those stories when you share. Just because you guys, you have to know, I got several of Grant's courses. I think I took 3 of your courses.
Oh, cool. That's
The
awesome.
Art of Public Speaking, Beyond the Stage, and
Yep.
Booked and Paid to Speak.
That's so
And
cool.
all those courses are great. Yes, this guy is inspiring. And you can hear how you speak with power, man. You do. Because I also like to speak fast. And sometimes people tell me, slow down, you speak too fast. But I love to listen to people who speak fast also.
Yeah.
That's why
Yeah.
it really.
Well, excuse me. And to that point, I think that I typically speak fast, and in interviews or podcasts, or on webinars, or just speaking from stage. A lot of times I speak fast, and yeah, I think you can certainly speak to a point where you're going too fast, where the audience can't keep up. Like, you have to know when to speed up and when to slow down for any speaker. And so you and I like to speak fast, but at the same time, that means the opposite of when we slow down makes it that much more powerful, because
Yeah.
it causes the audience to lean in. And then whenever you're picking it up, you can go back to your normal pace, and that's fine. So being aware that you don't want to just speak at the same speed for on and on and on and on and on, because it is hard to keep up with. It is hard to track with if you're going too fast. But at the same time, you don't want to go too slow where the audience is going, oh my word, like, come on, let's get going here. And the same thing is true with the volume of your voice, where maybe times that you get louder and you're more passionate, and times where you get a lot more quiet. And again, it causes the audience to lean in. And so you have to understand kind of the not only the speed, but the volume of your voice. And that those are ways that you can demonstrate power. Power isn't always being loud or speaking fast. Sometimes the most powerful speakers are very soft-spoken, quiet, slower cadence speakers. And again, that can be a really powerful thing.
Do you call yourself an extrovert or an introvert, Grant?
I'm probably more of an introvert. I genuinely enjoy being with people, but I have no problem being by myself. And 99 nights out of 100, I'm home with my family, and that's the way I would prefer it. But I enjoy being with people, and speaking is speaking is obviously being with a collection of people. But it can also recognize it can be tiring. And I think most speakers I know, most speakers I talk with, a lot of them are relatively introverted, and they like being with people, but also like need time to kind of recharge and decompress, and just sit in the hotel room and just in silence for a second there. And that's okay. And so don't feel like, for people who may be saying, I want to be a speaker, but I'm not some, crazy extrovert life of the party. That's okay. You don't have to be that in order to be a speaker.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just had this conversation recently. A person said that she's an introvert and she thought that she cannot really be a speaker. And I told her, I know a lot of people who are introverts, but they're great speakers. You're one of the, I know that I am an extrovert. And yes, it always was easier for me to speak, but there are so many awesome speakers and they are introverts. That's why, yeah, that's a myth for sure. Yeah. So tell me, what would you say to people who want to speak? I have so many in my audience or among my friends, clients. They have a message, they want to speak, or they are starting their business, so they really need to create videos and messages for their clients, their potential clients, but they don't know if they've got what it takes. They need some kind of push. So what would you say to those people?
Yeah, I think again, a lot of speakers have a lot of those same doubts and insecurities and fears of why me, why would anyone listen to me, why should I be up there on stage, and that's okay. Like I think it's okay to recognize that that's a normal feeling. I've been a speaker for a long time, and I still have a lot of those same doubts and insecurities. There's plenty of people who know more about speaking than I do, and there's plenty of people who are better speakers than I am, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that they are the only people that can be speakers or the only people that can help speakers. So there's no shortage of opportunities to serve and support people of all different industries, whether that's in the speaking space or elsewhere. So I think that's one is just important to recognize that. Two is if you let those doubts and insecurities and fear overtake you, you'll never do anything. And so I remember a speaker friend telling me one time, like feel the fear, but then like lean into that. If you're feeling that fear, if you're feeling those doubts and insecurities, it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it may be something that's, again, worth leaning into. And so I think for me as a speaker, I had a lot of those same self-doubts and insecurities and fears, but knew that, hey, this is something that I felt like I had the ability to be good at. And I knew, again, I wasn't, I'm not the world's greatest speaker, but I also know that I bring something of value to audiences when I speak to them. And so have confidence in that, and also recognize like some of that confidence comes with time. The first time you do anything, you feel like I'm not good at this. I don't know what I'm doing. I feel like I'm out of my element. But over time, with anything, with practice, with repetition, you get better. And that's the case for any speaker. I think it's easy to look at some speakers and think, well, they're just amazing. They've always been amazing. But everybody starts from zero. Everybody starts from scratch. There's a time when a speaker had none gigs. They'd never done anything, and then they did their very first gig. And everybody starts from zero. There are times where the best speakers in the world, the people that you look up to, you admire, you respect, that they bombed, that they did a horrible job, and that happens. Like, again, that's just part of being a speaker. And so recognize that even the best have bad speaking engagements. They have bad gigs, things that don't go well. They tell jokes that nobody laughs at, and things that don't make sense, or technology or slides mess up, or any number of things that happen. But it doesn't disqualify them or mean that they're a bad speaker or that they shouldn't be speaking. And the same thing is true for you. Like, if you want to be a speaker, then you absolutely should lean into that and take the steps to follow through on that.
Yeah, step by step, little by little, that's for sure. Because a lot of people have this desire and yet something is stopping them. Something is. So, what is your source of power, your personally, before we get to talk about the speaking industry in general, but about you? Where do you get that power to speak? Especially in those moments when you know you did speak with power. What is it?
Yeah, I
Family,
think a lot of
purpose?
yeah, well, I'd say a couple things. One is my family means the world to me, for sure. So I'm married to my high school sweetheart. We have 3 daughters, and so it's me and a house full of women. It's the absolute best. I absolutely love it. And so yeah, the business that I have today is largely to provide a great life for my family, which I absolutely love. And I'd say another thing that I think causes people to have a sense of power, especially when speaking, is the kind of the rush of the moment and the environment and the experience, right? And so, you can practice and practice and practice, but nothing compares to being in front of that live audience and, telling a story or telling a joke and it lands, or any number of things where you just feel like this is working, this is going well. Like, that is a euphoric rush of an experience. And so I think that in those moments as speakers, that the adrenaline really heightens your senses and heightens your awareness of the moment. And so I think sometimes the power just comes from the moment itself and the experience of being on stage in front of that audience.
Okay, well, what about now? We don't have a stage. We we have Zooms and we have these digital stages. So
Yeah.
what about now? Would you say that people can still get that power from the audience even if it's virtual?
Yeah, it's a good example of, let's take you and I, for example. We've never met. We live on opposite sides of the globe. And yet some of the stuff that we have provided virtually has made a big impact in your life, right? And so just because you're not in person, sure, it's different, but it doesn't mean that it diminishes the value of what you bring to the table as a speaker, as a presenter. And so you just have to adapt. You have to recognize, like, okay, this is the world that we're in right now. Hopefully we're coming out of this to some degree, and we're going to be on the other side of this sooner rather than later. And this has been a really weird, 8, 9, 10 months or so. But it doesn't mean that it's always going to be like this. And it also doesn't mean that, anything that you do virtually, either it doesn't count or it's not as effective. Yeah, it's different. And it's, but at this point, again, everyone's kind of used to it. It is what it is. And so there's still value that you can provide even in a virtual context.
Yeah, definitely. I know for sure that all those, I basically started doing it virtually because when I got your course and I started writing to event managers, I just got into that first stage of contacting them and booking. And then the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
So then you guys, I got Grant's second course, which is beyond the stage. It's for creating courses, and you were really fast. So you pivoted and right away you offered that course again. And so that's when I started getting into more of creating courses and virtual and doing corporate trainings online, virtually. and
Yeah.
a lot of people benefited from that. That's for sure.
Yeah. That's
So,
cool.
so tell us, when you were a speaker first,
Hmm.
and then you decided to help other speakers. How did that
Hmm.
happen and why?
Yeah. So, excuse me. One of the challenges with being a speaker is, as I remember a speaker friend telling me early on, speaking is a high-paying manual labor job, in that we get paid really well to stand on stage and speak. But the nature of speaking is you have to potentially travel. You have to maybe leave your family. You have to get on a plane. You got to go somewhere, and there's parts of it that are fine and parts of it that are non-glamorous, non-sexy, that get a little tiring after time. You know, they're most hotel rooms are pretty boring, and you just want, like, I just want to sleep in my own bed. You know, I want my own pillow, that sort of thing. And so at the time, I got to a point where I was doing about 70 gigs a year and traveling all over, and I was gone 80, 90 nights a year, and I was away from the family a bunch. And I remember I was having a bunch of people who were asking me, like, "Hey, how do I be a speaker?"
Mhm.
And so we started doing a little bit of teaching and training and coaching around that, and that started to pick up some steam, and we started to lean into that more and more. And so that's the core of what we do today. I still, excuse me, I still do a little bit of speaking, but the bulk of what we do is teaching and training other speakers to share their message. And so, in a way, I feel like we've been able to amplify what it is that we do, because it's not limited to just me being able to speak, but being able to help other speakers, and the ripple effect that creates of the audiences that they speak to, the impact that is created
Mhm.
from who they get to be a part, who they speak to, the how their families' lives are changed, how they themselves as a speaker's life has changed. And so we've been able to really create something that has helped a lot of speakers all over the world, and made a big difference that's not limited to just what I can do by standing on the stage.
Yeah. Wow. My goodness. I just, when you said that, I imagined all of this. You touch one person, one speaker, then another speaker. These
Yeah.
speakers touch so many other people, and then
Yeah.
and it just goes around, and it's definitely, it's a huge impact. You
Yeah.
for sure changed my life, definitely with your courses. That's
That's cool.
true. And I even forgot. I forgot what I wanted to ask you next. So, okay, there's the thing about your course that I wanted to ask you. Yeah, you have this awesome acronym, speak,
Speak.
right?
Yep.
Speak, not
Yep.
speaker, speak.
Yep.
So could you tell us a little bit the meanings of these? It's when you teach those people who want to become speakers, you
Hmm.
teach them how to actually get paid for being on stages. Because
Yep.
I have a lot of entrepreneurs that I work with, because part of who my audience, my clients, is entrepreneurs who want to start a business, so they started their business, and
Right.
then others, they work for a corporation and
Hmm.
they are like top managers or executives, and they need to improve their presentation skills.
Yep.
But even those people who are entrepreneurs, and they have other businesses, one of their income stream would be speaking on the stage. I know
Yeah.
personally several people who are thinking about it already. So could you explain a little bit? Speak. What does that mean, this
Yeah,
acronym?
so we teach what we call the speaker success roadmap. So it makes that acronym speak. So when people ask me, "Hey, how do I find and book speaking gig?" We walk through this framework. And so yeah, I'll give you the high level overview, and we can dig in wherever you want. But the S is select a problem to solve. Select a problem to solve. And so this is where you have to get really clear on who it is that you speak to and what's the problem that you solve for that audience. So the mistake a lot of speakers make is we just like speaking. Speaking is a lot of fun. Speaking is again kind of the adrenaline experience, and we want to do more of it. And so we say, well, who do I speak to? I speak to people. I speak to humans. I speak to everybody. And what do I speak about? What do you want me to speak about? I can speak about anything. But that does not work. Like, people don't want a generalist who thinks that they can do anything and everything. But you want to be a specialist that I solve one specific problem for one specific audience. And so that's the first and most important foundational piece of the process, is to get really clear on that. Select a problem to solve. The P is to prepare your talk. So once you're clear on who you speak to, what's the problem that you solve, then you come up with what's the solution. How do you present and provide that solution to the audience? Because more than just being speakers, we are problem solvers, we're solution providers. And so what does your solution to that problem look like? The E is to establish yourself as the expert. And this comes down to two key marketing tools that we teach. So one is you have to have a website, and you need to have a demo video. And so a website and demo video provide credibility. They provide an opportunity for marketing materials, and for potential event planners, potential decision makers, to kind of look at your stuff and decide whether or not you're a good fit, or if you are what it is that they're looking for. And so if you don't have a website, if you don't have a video, it's hard for people to take you seriously. It's hard for people to want to hire you or to have the confidence to hire you. And so it's good to have those things in place. The A is to acquire paid speaking gigs, acquire paid speaking gigs. Now, obviously, this is the point that people want to fast forward to. I'm here to book gigs. What do I need to do? But again, it's important that you have the previous pieces in place first before you get to this point. And the point being with acquire paid speaking gigs, that you need to have a system. You need to have a process. It's so much more than, okay, I got my website, I got my video, and I just sit back and I wait for the phone to ring, or I wait for someone to magically find me. Because for a lot of speakers, especially, excuse me, early on, is they've booked a few things and it's like some word of mouth stuff or a referral from a friend, or like some random stuff has fallen in their lap, which is okay. But if you want to do this on a sustainable basis, like you can't just sit back and wait for people to magically find you. Like you have to be proactive in building a business. And so you have to have a system to do that. And then the last part of the process, the K, is know when to scale. So like you were touching on with some of the beyond the stage stuff, is that a lot of people who are interested in speaking are also interested in having a course or doing a book or doing a podcast or sharing the message in other ways beyond just speaking. And so and so that's so what we always tell speakers is you can do all the things, but you can't do all the things at once. Like something's got to come first, something's got to come last. Meaning that, I don't want a speaker to say, well, okay, I'm a speaker, but I'm also working on writing a book, and I'm creating a course, and I'm also doing consulting, and I'm also doing courses, and I'm also doing coaching, and I'm doing all these things. Like that does not work. Like you got to solve, again, one specific problem, one specific way. And if you, again, over time, you can add some other ways that you go about doing that, but don't try to do all things for all people, because that doesn't work. So again, big picture, that's the framework that we teach, the Speak, SPEAK, of how to find a book and build a speaking business.
Yeah. And especially this first point, I remember I was struggling with that so much listening, because first I listened to a lot of your webinars. Honestly, several times to the same webinar. I signed up for it and I listened to it. And then finally I made the decision, I'm going to get this course, get this program. But I remember this moment, even still during the webinar, not even on the course, to choose one problem or one topic and one audience. And I was resisting it. I was like, no, but I want these and these and these. I want that topic. And I have, but there's so much I can share. And I see a lot of people are the same.
Yeah.
We think we know so much, we want to give all of it.
Well, absolutely. And I think this happens for a couple of reasons. One is that we just enjoy speaking. And so we want to speak to whoever about whatever. And the other thing is, like, we're passionate about, like you said, a lot of different topics. I know a lot of, I know something about a lot of different topics. It's an inch deep and a mile wide of a whole bunch of different things. And the other thing is we feel like we're limiting ourselves, so we say, well, I could speak about this, and I could speak about this, and I could speak about it. So I want to tell everyone all the different options. It's one of the analogies we use is you want to be a steakhouse and not a buffet, and not a buffet, meaning you want to specialize and be one specific type of restaurant versus being a buffet that offers a whole bunch of different things, but they're all mediocre. Like nobody's really excited to go to a buffet, right? You're if you're looking for steak, or if you're looking for tacos, or if you're looking for a burger, like you're going to go to places that just do those specific things versus trying to, do all different things. And so that's, again, it's counterintuitive because we think we need to spread the net as far and wide as possible. But again, the more specific, the more narrow, the more clear, the more focused you are, the easier it is to actually find and book gigs.
Yes, that's for sure. I understood that now finally, as soon as actually the pandemic allowed me to do that, to focus only on presentation skills and then even only on one specific topic. So now basically my topic is speak with power and helping people to speak more with confidence, and basically even just teaching speaking or presentation skills, not habit building like I did before. I had so many other topics that I loved and I taught before, goal setting and everything, but now I know that this is the passion. So people, you guys need to understand what is your passion, what are you the best at, and what people that you work with require the most, and just go and pick that one topic. So what is going on in the industry? If people, because those people who are thinking about starting this kind of business, the speaking business, or even just having it as an extra income stream, they're probably scared because look what's going on. So I know, because I've heard so many of your podcast episodes. You guys, Grant also has an awesome podcast, the Speaker Lab podcast, and several of your guests talked about this, because I know you asked them about, so what is going on with virtual, with live events? Is it going to stay? So could you share just a few words with us?
Yeah, so it's obviously it's been been a weird 8 9 months or so that's affected certainly the world, but certainly the speaking industry as well. And so one of the things that we're seeing a lot of going forward is I think now is actually the best time for speakers than there's ever been. And the reason being is we're at the moment now we're starting to come out of the pandemic. You know, the vaccine's starting to be distributed around the world, and people are starting to feel more and more comfortable and confident that all right, we're nearing getting to the other side of this. But what this has created though is it's brought around this opportunity for virtual. So pre-pandemic, virtual has been something that some speakers do, some event planners do, but it's not one of those things that's been taken super seriously by anybody. And now all of a sudden, because we got to a point in March for most people that they didn't have any other option but to do virtual, it caused everyone to really lean into it. It's like, okay, this is the only option we have for at least the foreseeable future. Let's do this. And so people are realizing, yeah, there's pros and cons with the virtual. It's certainly not the same as being in person, but organizations and groups that maybe have always wanted to do a live event but didn't have the resources or the manpower or anything like that, they're like, oh, okay, I can see how doing a virtual thing would be a viable option. So I firmly believe that virtual is here to stay, that it's not kind of this
Mhm.
stopgap thing that's just kind of like a temporary thing, that it's going to be a viable thing going forward. And so as more and more live events, like in-person events come back, and then you have more and more virtual events that continue to happen, you're going to see more hybrid events that are happening, kind
Mhm.
of a crossover between both. I think it just creates more supply in terms of events, which creates more of a need for speakers to be able to present and to solve problems for audiences. So yeah, even though it's been a weird time, I think now is actually one of the better times to be a speaker and to get started and to build your speaking business and to share your message with audiences.
For sure. And especially now, those people who want to create these platforms and start speaking, they can create a virtual platform. That's the easiest thing. And like you
Yeah.
said, they're blended now. I go to a Toastmasters club, well, believe it or not, in the New York City. When
Okay.
I was there 2 years ago, I ran the marathon in New York.
Hmm.
I went and I visited two clubs, Toastmasters clubs, and one of them, they were meeting virtually every week. And because I couldn't attend my club here in Kiev because of my schedule, so I started looking into those opportunities, and I joined
Hmm.
them. So what they're saying, that now they're going to have these virtual meetings for about a year, but then they will have both. So they'll have people come in and have a meeting, and
Yep.
at the same time, they are buying the equipment, so they're getting ready, and they will have these virtual blended environments and situations. So that's really exciting. It's like,
Yeah.
well, maybe everything will be like this. And
Yeah.
now we have more opportunities.
Yeah, if anything, yeah, I totally agree that it's created more opportunities, new opportunities, different opportunities that maybe people before had either experimented with or thought of, but just never had done anything with. And now there's just those are real viable opportunities. People literally all over the world are now used to Zoom or used to virtual environments and virtual settings, and so it creates a lot of new opportunities for the speaking industry for sure.
Yes, that's definitely. So tell me this. If you had 60 seconds, so imagine that you are on the stage and you have the whole world in front of you. So you get this chance to speak with power in front of them. What would you say them in about 1 minute? What is your main message that you want people to hear?
Yeah, so a big thing that I really believe in is that who you are is more important than what you do. Who you are is more important than what you do. So for me, I love being a speaker. I love being an entrepreneur. I love doing those things. But it's way more important to me to be a good husband, to be a good father, to be a good human being. Because at the end of the day, if I, if I'm a great speaker, if I'm a great entrepreneur, if I do a great job with the Speaker Lab, if I make a big difference in everybody else's life, but if I'm a shell of a human being, or if I drop the ball as a husband or as a dad, like I've really missed it. And so that's important to me for anybody to realize. I tell our team that all the time. We have a big team, a lot of people that work for us, and tell them all the time, it's like what you do matters, but who you are is way more important than what it is that you do. So I'm more interested in who you are as a mom, as a dad, as a wife, as a husband, as a friend, as a son, as a daughter, as a human being. Like those things really, really, really matter. And so it's so easy to get caught up in and building and accomplishing and achieving and gaining and status and that sort of thing. But way more important than all of those things is just who you are as a human being. So yeah, if I had an opportunity, that's probably what I would share.
Do you still coach? or you have a whole, because I know that you have the team of people who coach within the Speaker Lab,
Yeah.
but do you personally also sometimes do that?
Not as much. So
Not
we
as much.
really have a great team
Hmm.
that is as knowledgeable, if not more, definitely probably more knowledgeable than I am, and do a better job with coaching. And so my best role is to help lead the company, the team. So I
Hmm.
do a little bit of coaching, but yeah, not nearly as much as the rest of the team does.
So I was going to ask you, so what's your favorite thing? Your favorite role is to lead and to like create a vision and to guide them.
Yeah, I love working with our organization. I love working with our team. We have a really great team of people located all over the place, primarily in the U.S. And we get to work with thousands of students, literally all over the
Hmm.
world, 37 different countries. And so it's a lot of fun to help lead our team and to try to make a little dent in the world and help speakers.
Hmm. Yeah, you guys, Grant started his speaking business and then he got it to 7 figures and created an awesome life for his family. So see, it's worth it definitely to become a speaker and to get booked and paid to speak. And your awesome book. So could you tell us just a couple words why people should get your book?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
like you mentioned, the book came out just about a year ago. The book is called, for those that are watching, The Successful Speaker: 5 Steps for Booking Gigs, Getting Paid, and Building Your Platform. And so, yeah, it's a step-by-step process. So take that Speak framework that we talked about. It goes a lot more in depth. We gave you a quick couple-minute overview on that, but it goes in depth on exactly how you do that. How do you create a website and a video, and how do you figure out what you should speak on, and finding audiences and speaking fees and demo videos and all the ins and outs of all things speaking. So yeah, that's what it's about. That's what it walks through. And so the book's available on hardcover or Kindle or audiobook. And so lots of different versions there. So yeah, definitely check it out.
Definitely. I have my Kindle version. That's why, like, I know what it looks like. I know the color and everything, but I got
That's
it in
cool.
my Kindle. That's awesome. Yes, for sure. And one thing that I really love also about your program is this calculator that
Yeah.
people can just, and it's for free.
Yep. Yeah,
Could you
if
tell
people
us
want
what
to
it
go
does?
to, yeah, when people ask, how much should I charge as a speaker? The reality is it depends. There's a lot of variables and factors, but the answer of it depends is a horrible answer. And so, so we created a tool. It's a free speaking fee calculator. So if you go to myspeakerfee.com, again, totally free calculator. It's multiple choice, answer a couple different questions there, and it'll give you a number of what you should be charging based on various variables for you and the event that you would be speaking at. It also factors in virtual. So if you're thinking, okay, I'm trying to figure out how to price, come up with a speaking fee for a potential virtual gig, how much do I charge? That's, again, a great free tool that you can check out. So again, totally free. Go to myspeakerfee.com.
Yes, and we definitely will put the links in the description. So thank you very much, Grant. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is such an incredible opportunity. You have to check out Grant's book and his booked and paid to speak. This is an incredible, awesome program that changed my life, and I know that it can change your life if you only give it a chance, if you go in and check it out, if you get it, and then if you work through it, because just buying it is not enough. You have to really
Correct.
work. You have to do the work. You have to apply all of this. And check out Grant's podcast, the Speaker Lab podcast also, and other links. We will put them all in the description. And tune in, come back for more interviews. We love you. Speak with power.